My name is Kapil Dhiman.
Hello, my name is Dyma Budorin.
I'm Jeff. I'm Jock.
So I'm Preetam.
Another problem of our industry is that we are trying to overcomplicate things. We're trying to say use ledger, use this, use this.
Security is not sexy. Nobody wants to pay attention to security. Loss aversion is one of the worst things to sell.
AI toolings and models that are created are only going to be as good as the data sets that they operate from.
We are moving to an age where post-quantum cryptography and much power algorithms will replace the existing ECDS system.
Our fight is against these very smart hackers and how we can protect more secure Web3.
Where do you think is the industry heading? What sort of top trends do you notice when you spend your time at Hacken? So welcome in. We are here to talk about a very important subject of security. Some of you are developers. We have a great panel here of some very experienced speakers, some of which we know already since a long time. So let's get started with the first quick round of introduction from all of you guys, and then we'll jump over to some questions as you guys are back on stage as well. With you first, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kapil Dhiman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Quranium. We are building a quantum secure layer 1 blockchain with the convergence with artificial intelligence to enable developers to build and run smoothly and efficiently. And looking forward to this amazing conversation here about a topic which is very fundamental to our industry, security. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kapil.
One. Hello, my name is Dyma Budorin. I am CEO, co-founder of Hacken. I love the industry, but I hate the speed of changes in the security practices and transparency. And we tried a lot of things, we built a lot of tools, but it looks like it's time for regulation. And that's why I moved to Abu Dhabi in September and helping local regulators to build basically some RegTech products so that our industry will have fair and the regulation that matters, but not the one that's causing problems.
Thank you, Dyma.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff, CEO and co-founder of Haven One. We actually just launched on April 22nd. Very exciting times, despite kind of mediocre markets. We are an EVML1 focused on DeFi 2.0, which is more secure scale DeFi, inclusive of all RWAs. So yeah, security isn't sexy. So thank you for everybody that is here and listening in. But I think it's a critical thing in this space. I think we're trying to really scale Web3. And when it's always plagued by hacks, scams, and rug pulls, it's not going to really scale. So we got to do the dirty work.
Hey everyone, I'm Jock from Hashlock. So I'm one of the directors and co-founders. And Hashlock is a Web3 security firm. So we do smart contract audits, attack and pen, and bug bounty monitoring, as well as all the other suites in regards to security services. Our main mission, I'm sure that Hacken also thinks this as well, is that we're about more adoption for Web3. And we think that barrier to entry is through security. There's a lot of people from the outside of this space looking in and seeing all the hacks and scams happening. And we would just like less of that in this industry. So we're here making sure that everyone launches securely.
Wow. Hey, so I'm Preetam, co-founder of QuillAudits, and we are also building one audit agents network, QuillAI. We're doing auditing from last, I think 7+ years. And that's what we do as Hacken, Hashlock guys are doing to secure this space.
Thank you, Preetam. Thank you, everyone. So guys, I want to take this round of discussion and go a little more ahead than security audits. We all know that as developers require audits and but there have been so many incidences where audits haven't really played a larger role. Can or do you think, from your perspective, and this is open for all, how could we look into more smarter ways, or let's say more advanced ways of mathematical models like rather than audits, move into these mathematical models, which I think make more larger sense from certain perspectives. So formal methods of, security. Where do you think they stand in the industry right now? And where do you think they will be leading in the coming short future for us? We can start with you first.
So that's a very important question, Zain. And to address that, the most important thing for everybody here to get a grip of is how does even security work in the blockchain architecture in cryptocurrency transactions that we do. So you spoke about mathematics, right? Everything, the security encryption layer, which keeps our private key secure or which secures the validation of blocks in a blockchain, is a mathematical encryption. Very simply put. So we use ECDSA, electric digital signature algorithm, is what secures a network. That is a mathematical function of two very large numbers. How is it secure? The calculation is so complex to solve that the normal computers that we use today do not have enough processing power or do not have enough compute to get an answer to that calculation. And hence it is secure because nobody can get access to your private key or reverse engineer your private key from your public keys. Because the calculation sitting in between the encryption is very complex and your normal computers do not have enough compute to solve that. But that is where the biggest problem starts happening now. This encryption that we are using is 40 years old. It was invented in 1985 and we are using it till today. We are talking about increasing the adoption of blockchain, increasing the adoption of cryptocurrencies. We are sitting at $3 trillion market cap right now and it is consistently increasing. But we continue to use the same encryption. That's the biggest problem. Audits is the most important thing, of course, but audit is stage number 2. Right? So audit will check whether the way you have built the smart contract, if you're following the norms, they are accurate or not. But this foundational encryption, that is the most important aspect that needs a relook. And that is why we are coming to an age where we are gonna start replacing these existing encryptions which are falling weak of the power with the GPU powered supercomputers or the quantum computers which can actually break these encryptions like this. So now we are moving to an age where post-quantum cryptography and much power algorithms will replace the existing ECDSA. That will be the fundamental shift that our industry will see.
Makes sense. Thank you for that. I know it's a very important point to highlight because I've seen this, audit stuff, been in the space since long, but I'm wanting to see the future where we look at more advanced methods like formal verification and others to play sort of a big role and projects as well as developers to understand the importance of it. So with you, Dyma, you've been in the space, you've been in the region, you've seen a lot, in terms of your entrepreneurial journey. But I want you to spread some light on on your role as Hacken, specifically during the war, time. Okay. How maybe share with the audience on how that was and what did you guys do? Because I know you did some really cool stuff around that time.
Okay. All right. So right now,
yes.
All right. No. I wanted to add that for formal verification, if you allow me.
Please.
So there is no silver bullet, and there will never be. We did as an industry a pretty good job that we created, the needs of every company to have a smart contract audit. But right now, we need to start as the auditors of the actors of the space, start saying as one that this is not enough. That's correct. Formal verification is being done by all the major protocols for a reason. Yeah, because they can pay for it. But it's not only this. It's also about the monitoring tools. It's about the app audits. It's about pen tests. It's about bug bounties. It's about circuit breakers to protect liquidities. So it's operational security, supply chain security. We need to, and right now, with all the AI tools that are being developed, we are at risk as the industry so that major players at the market, they will just spend on security peanuts and they will continue to be hacked, but this is not what we want to have. Okay, so thank you, that's important.
Thank you.
But thank you for question about the war, yes. We were a Ukrainian company, all based in Ukraine, in the February 2022, and we were just lucky because it was heating up, and we moved all the team in Barcelona just to spend some time because we thought that something could happen. And when the war started, we just started to counterattack the Russian Federation with all the tools that we had. We organized bug bounties for critical infrastructure for Russian Federation and Ukrainian as well. Nice. HackerOne and BugCrowd supported us, and we received thousands of bug reports which were executed and which were protecting Ukraine. And also we organized one of the biggest botnets in the world, this Balancer, and we were coordinating the biggest DDoS attacks on Russian Federation. Yeah, short story.
Thank you. And great work on that as well, because that's what the world needs to stand out for helping the others too. So good work on that. Thank you, Dyma. Moving on, guys. Jeff, as we were talking off stage, like you guys have recently gone mainnet. Things are progressing. Very happy to see stuff. But can you highlight, like you've used this word about wreck resistant? How exactly are you making that happen in the space?
Yeah, I mean, wreck resistant is just a marketing tool that we have. It's a form of our community and a call to action more than anything. But I think, as you just mentioned, we look at security not as a silver bullet type of approach, and it needs to be thought ecosystem-wide and enforced ecosystem-wide. And really, when we were looking at building Haven One, and not to do a shameless plug of Haven One on this, we talked to over 100 different asset managers that were in the space, and they were looking at what we were looking at and trying to understand is how are they managing risk on chain, and how do you actually ensure that the everyday user gets access to the same level of risk management that's there. Because smart contract audits, so we're up here with a bunch of partners, and we've worked with several of them, are just one aspect of the problem, or I guess of the solution in this case. And so these large asset managers are spending millions of dollars in protecting their capital on chain with different risk models, paying third parties, looking at auditors, and have actual smart contracts been audited, not just on deployment, but on upgrades, setting alerts when smart contracts get upgraded. All of these things exist in a permissionless ecosystem, and as an everyday user, it's very difficult to actually stay up to date on this. And so that's actually for us, like why we set out to build Haven One, was to try to create an ecosystem that did it for users. So it removed a lot of the thinking around security. It's enforced smart contract audits. It's enforced KYB for accountability to the builders in this space. It's bringing in the tools that these asset managers are already paying for and bringing it into the RPCs on the network. As a permission network, we can control the RPCs. And that's something that we want to bring as a layer of security that gets hit before it ever even gets brought to the blockchain, which is ultimately there just protecting users. Because we know, as I said earlier on, security is not sexy. Nobody wants to pay attention to security. Loss aversion is one of the worst things to sell. So people usually are looking at security as an afterthought, and we don't think it should be an afterthought in this space. And the only solution, in our opinion, is actually to bring it down to the network level itself. And that's ultimately where we landed on it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Jock, moving on to you. I know Hashlock has done a lot of stuff in the industry, and you guys are still contributing some cool stuff. But I've read some stuff about AI, also being integrated into your ecosystems in Hashlock security. Where do you think are you taking that, the security of, using AI in specific, please?
Yeah, great question. And if I can touch on the formal verification and
Please.
also the
Yes.
what Dyma and Jeff were talking about as well. I completely agree as well. It's only smart contract audits are only one aspect of the security pie, and as a tool as well, they're almost a static aspect. Yes. I like to think of a smart contract audit as like a save state at that point in time, but there's constantly bad actors lurking through code bases, looking to find things, and at the end of the day, these smart contract audits are performed by humans, and humans can make mistakes. Although we can advance the tooling and bring in all this new tooling that integrates AI models and data sets that firms can collaboratively aggregate together, at the end of the day, to err is to human. So we have to have those active security tools, bug bounties, attack and pen, all the holistic security services that also complement the smart contract audit as well. And on the formal verification side, we had one of our clients, Red Belly Network, which is one of the largest layer one real-world asset tokenization chains based out of Australia. Okay. It is a service that not everyone likes. It's mathematical proofs. It does the code do what it says it's going to do and providing those proofs. But like Dean was saying, it's quite an expensive procedure and not everyone wants to undertake it. And I would say as well, it's almost not something that is even able for every project or platform to undertake. So yeah, but we are seeing the emergence of a lot of AI tools. Obviously, Quill developing them at the moment too, and I'm sure that Hacken and Hashlock as well, we're using these tools internally. My biggest sort of fear is that these tools, although they're great for us to use internally, if we have them open source and available for everyone, then there's nothing stopping bad actors using them as well.
That's true.
And especially if they have data sets that have been aggregated from our vulnerability findings that we've collected over the years, that could be dangerous to push those tools into old contracts that are currently running on mainnet right now. So I think although the emergence of AI tools and AI tooling in the Web3 security space is really cool and exciting, we have to be careful with who has access to this, because if we give it access to everyone, we're also giving access to bad actors.
But how do we really, follow up on that, because this is very interesting. How would you really put down a wall when you make something so open for everyone? What sort of measures could be actually taken in that stops these bad actors from, using these tools?
Yeah, well, I think it has to be still managed by security firms. It has to be somewhat internal still, because as well, these tools, they can push out a lot of vulnerabilities that can be false positives, and they still run off data sets that are historical. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's this whole play of machine or man. It has to be augmented security researchers and augmented auditors that are using these tools and these AI tooling to essentially enhance their ability. But we still need the humans at the end of the day to interpret what these vulnerabilities and exploits are, because we can't purely rely on machines, because at the end of the day, human intuition is going to win.
That's true as well. All right, thank you. Preetam, moving on to you, at Quill. Firstly, what's your view about the formal verification side, and what sort of measures you've taken, and then I'll jump over another question with you.
Yeah, so we're doing the security stuff from around like 7+ years, and my view around formal verification is the extreme important part of this security life cycle, right? We talk about the life cycle. Life cycle means at the time you're writing the contract, you should engage with the audit company, then use some AI audit tool, go with 1-2 audit company, and then now slowly there's two important things are going to happen, and we are seeing the trend also. The formal verification is going to be extreme important, right? And the second is the monitoring part, right? Now as everyone knows, in Web3 the code is the money, and billions of dollars are locked in your own chain smart contracts. You need extreme monitoring, right? So where these companies like Hypernative and Failsafe and formal verification Certora is doing great work. But even we can follow this whole life cycle. Some contracts were formally verified. I seen that still getting into hacks, right? So I feel industry is still at a very early stage. We don't know the next attack vector. We as a security companies, and now we having this blockchain security alliance seal 911, and they're really doing a great job. And we auditing companies, and these guys are really you can say at the war with North Korean hackers, right? And these guys are really finding what the next protocol we can attack, right? So I think the full life cycle is going to be very important, and formal verification, as my friend also mentioned, is going to be very important in this layer.
Awesome, thank you, Preetam. Also on the dual code, verification that QuillAudits use, can you just simplify and help the audience?
Yeah. So what we think in the dual core, right? I think some other players is also having this. Like just assume one auditing company just did the audit, and now we having this second, you can say the auditors or second team, and they are just here to attack or find the vulnerabilities in the first audit that already done, right? And this model, some companies already following, and this is a very good process, the dual audit, or we call it multi-chain audit process. So where like 2-3 audit players, like players means like one audit player having 2-3 audit guys, second having 2-3, and then we having some bug bounty players also. And now these 3 teams or like 2 teams really compete to find the vulnerabilities. And we have seen that, like even these two like good players or 2 audit companies, did very good work. Now, even the third players are really finding some high vulnerabilities, right? So what I feel is we need at least audit from 2 companies, and it's always good if you can get from at least 3, 4 companies.
But yeah, that depends on budgets of the projects as well, which is quite a constraint at times. But thank you, Preetam, for that. Bouncing back at you, Kapil, Preetam mentioned about trends, and we know maybe formal verification maybe could be a catching up trend as things progress in the space. But apart from this, where do you think is the industry heading? What sort of other trends do you notice because you're an expert in the space? Um, let's talk about that. Yeah.
So, in my estimate, the most important thing that the industry is heading and should be heading towards is the convergence of these technologies. The biggest buzzwords, so to say, that we have been hearing about in the blockchain industry is AI. Right? But most of the projects are actually just slapping the word AI on top of their projects and building using ChatGPT, but not actual utility of that. So integrating artificial intelligence at the infrastructure level, that's the core play. That's going to come together, how we can use AI at an infrastructure level to make the life of developers and user easier. Users from the point of view of UX and usability and bringing them on chain in a much more streamlined manner, and developers. So there's one study that came out that the retention ratio of developers after every hackathon is less than 6%. So projects spend a lot of money to do hackathons. Only 6% of those developers who participated in the hackathon stay and retain, stick to the chain. Otherwise they just leave off, right? So that's not a proper utilization of the money spent by the project. And the biggest reason there is it's not developer friendly. Blockchain right now is not really that developer friendly that it should be. So AI can come to support that piece as well. So convergence of these two technology. And the biggest revolution that is happening on the computing side of things that I spoke about is the advancements of supercomputers and quantum computers. These two are very independent terms, and I want to be very careful about that. Supercomputers are when you're using powerful GPUs. Quantum computers are when you're using qubits. These two technologies are making breakthroughs in the industry in the traditional sense, whether it is healthcare, whether it is finance, whether it is automotive, and much more. This is the new standard of computing. How can we utilize this in the blockchain industry from a security perspective as well as from fueling the scalability perspective? So when these three technologies come together, I think that will be the birth of a new age of a decentralized industry. So I see convergence as the most important aspect of our industry going forward.
Very cool, very important, and good that you highlighted that. Thank you, Kapil. Moving on to you, Dyma. Where do you think is the industry heading? What sort of top trends do you notice, while you spend your time at Hacken?
We spend a lot of time on the monitoring tools.
Okay.
And I wish we can push the industry standards that all the major blockchain protocols are using them, and once some attacks are detected on the smart contracts, there is a standard that liquidity is somehow protected. We saw a lot of companies actually trying to build in this domain. I would say like around 10 companies, and all of them are struggling right now because simply there is not enough market. For me, AI is just like any other, like tool in cybersecurity, which are like just automating some of the things that you have to do. So for sure, there's gonna be amazing AI tools that gonna perform better than any other middle security engineer. We're also developing one. We are not releasing in public, but they are all gonna be available. And the human factor is being said. It's also going to be stay there, but there should be other layers, as we discussed, like Swiss cheese model, and I hope that sooner or later the monitoring and alerting tools will be massively used.
Awesome, thank you. Also, another question for you, Dhiman, because you're based in the region, I know you're there in Abu Dhabi, and how do you see the regulatory framework developing, especially in this side of the world, is it favorable for you? Is there any roadblocks that are being created because of these, regulations coming into picture, or is it making just a nice more foreground for you to play in?
Okay, so we've been putting a lot of efforts in working with regulators. We've been consulting ESMA, European Commission regulator, on the DORA implementation for the crypto projects, as well as in Turkey, TÜBİTAK, and here Vara ADGM.
Yeah.
So for Vara, for example, we also run the webinar for their technological rule book, and to be honest, all these three regulators that is on our focus, all of them, they are more busy with the legal stuff, legal setups. And even like the regulator, the Austrian one, that is now in the process of issuing the license to 2 major cryptocurrency exchanges, they, at this point of time, they are hiding their eyes on the DORA compliance, and it looks like only in 2026 we will see first fines for DORA, for MiCA, and for DORA maybe in 2027. Here, regulators are doing a good job, but in order, like even to ask the companies who wants to get the license for the documents, like you need somehow to check these documents. You need to understand if they're legit. You need some tools that monitor that these things are not changing. So, but I want to say that ADGM especially, they are doing probably one of the best jobs in the world. They are building products. They are very flexible, and soon there's going to be another regulator in United Arab Emirates, SCA.
Yes. I see.
And they gonna take all the best from Vara and ADGM, and that's gonna be federal level regulator, and they gonna start like signing agreements with different countries all over the world, where their regulation will be accepted by other countries, and it's gonna be followed by them. Because right now, I think from what I know, really ADGM Vara, they are leading the way. I think ADGM is doing the best job in the world.
Best job on that. Thank you. Yeah, I want to see the same future as well, Dyma, where a federal system comes up and, you don't have, it makes the life so simple, for a startup founder to, security audits to so many others in the industry. If there's a federal level support that is provided and everything under that umbrella is in a single shell. So let's hope, where things go. I'm very positive.
Let's hope and work.
Let's hope and work on that. Thank you, Dyma. Moving on to you, Jeff. Bouncing back on the subject of trends, where do you think, you're a fairly relative new company now. Where do you see the next sort of trends moving in, and where do you want to catch those trends up?
So trends are probably, trends are going to stay consistent. Like I think the issue when it comes back to security is that in best case scenario, security is a business decision today. Worst case scenario, it's a trust me, bro, I got this done already. And that's in order, when you look at the actual crypto space today, typically these smart contracts are handling financial transactions. And that's a very scary place to be. True. Which is you basically are giving your money, millions of dollars to these smart contracts, and your best case is that they did the smart contracts, worst case is they didn't. And it gets hacked and there's no accountability that's in the space. That's a product of cost in a lot of ways, and you hope that the trends in the security side is that AI starts to automate a lot of these things and can stay on top of it, and you can have multimodal tools that approach this, that lower the barrier to entry for newer projects to come in, because it's really this industry that's made it very difficult for developers to enter into this space in a protected manner. And what I mean by that is you're giving engineers basically fiduciary responsibility when they're trying to build new protocols, and then they have to either spend tons of money to go and get audits done and feel protected, or they just launch the product, or they do one audit or whatever it is, and everybody here on the stage knows that. And it makes it very, very difficult, and it creates a very significant weight on the founders to make that decision themselves. And so the hope is that we can basically collectively create tools that make it easier for founders to come in, build really cool products that are secure, don't have hack scams or rug pulls occurring on them that a lot of them don't want them to have happen. Ignore the rug pull part. But that's really the hope, is that you see things kind of reduce the cost from a security standpoint while we can then increase innovation.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Jeff. moving on, Jock, where do you think, what are the sort of top trends according to your knowledge?
Yeah, well, we definitely have all these sort of platform project buzzwords, DeepIn, RWA, and AI. I think every sort of category brings its own unique set of security concerns and measures that need to be in place. Like with DeepIn, we have infrastructure nodes that can be a security vulnerability in and of themselves. RWAs, we have to think about how all these technologies introduce new vulnerabilities that are almost outside of the scope of the service that we provide. So that's going to be emerging and new, and we have to develop tools to comprehend and understand that. And with AI, I think the AI toolings and models that are created are only going to be as good as the data sets that they operate from. I think we're seeing more adoption as well of like smart contract languages that are safer by design, like Move. And I think we will see more and more people building and like Jeff was saying, developing these tools that should make more adoption of security cheaper, more economical, and at the end of the day, create an environment and an industry that is just safer to begin with.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Preetam.
Yeah, so I think I'm following very interesting trends. Like the one trend I'm very deeply following is how you can expose trust as a service. What I mean by trust, right? If you are the way Hacken is doing, how we can build this trusted by verifiable services that can be consumed by anyone. Like, so this is the one trend I'm deeply following, how you can build trustable, verifiable agents. Also, like in case of QuillShield, the audit agent, we are building the AVS around it, right? So this is the one trend I'm following. The second trend, again, like how you can build verifiable AI, right? That is now, like everyone is talking about, how you can make your, AI more, it can provide more proof, right? Like at the time of training, at the time of inference, at the time of anything, right? How you can build some GK compute. So if as a user I can see like this is the verifiable and there is proper proof around the AI. This is the second trend that I'm very, very interestingly following. The third trend as a security company that we're trying to innovate is, as Hashlock also mentioned, like how you can build this verifiable AI agents, and that AI agents in some environment is finding like zero-day vulnerabilities using RL framework, and how we can report those vulnerabilities to the right team. Like not to like say, hey, we find the vulnerabilities on Twitter, but in a very GK way, and the product like CTO maybe can verify like this is the vulnerability without really exporting to the like their community, like we found any vulnerability in PancakeSwap or anything, right? So these are like some three, four technical things I'm deeply following. Apart from like DeepIn, RWA, institutions are coming, everything is coming. But as a tech guy, these are three main interests I'm following.
Awesome, man. Thank you. With that, I'll move down to our closing thoughts as the time is squeezing in. But I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been hacked, after being a guy in this space as well. And and I get this smile and I get this grin in my head too, like how the hell could it happen, with me? Because I've been in this space for quite many years, well-educated, looking at things from very different perspectives, and still would fall into that sort of a trap. But sometimes it just happens, and you move on with that. But something that I've learned with the recent hacks that happened with me is that, no matter how much you try, you have to be very, mindful of the actions that you take, because all these systems, all these processes, all the various things that we're talking, trends will keep on moving and evolving, but you have to yourself become more conscious of how you choose and what actions you take. Because at the end of the day, this is where the era of Web3 is taking us, giving us the ownership back. And now it's in our, court to take a decision, what we do with it. So that's my closing thoughts, for the panel, but let's have a quick round with you guys and some closing thoughts for the audience out here.
So I'll keep it short. World is changing much faster than we anticipated to be, and technology is changing even faster. So the most important thing for everybody, and primarily for the builders in this space, is to not be complacent, to not be living in a bubble that a change is not required, something is not important. As builders, as founders, our responsibility and the reason we exist is so that we can think 10 years ahead, not to think about what's happening in 2025 or even 2026. Think about what can happen in 2030 and build towards that and take the industry towards that direction. So security aspects that we have had a very interesting discussion today, and the new trends, the question that you asked, these are the things that is going to shape our industry in the future. So our message to everybody is don't be complacent and prepare yourself for the future and build accordingly.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Dyma.
Yeah, the hacking happened to anybody. Like the famous story of Julian, who runs Rec.News, our famous leaderboard of cybersecurity space where all the hacks are ranked by the...
Yeah.
So the Julian is running it, and his main wallet was hacked due to phishing attack.
Yes.
And he convinced, he lost his punks, he lost his other NFTs. So it means that, and it's like, you should not be ashamed about it. And also, like another problem of our industry is that we are trying to overcomplicate things. We're trying to say, use Ledger, use this, don't do triple authentication. And a lot of people, because of that, they see it as too complicated, they don't enter our industry, or they enter like centralized exchanges because they think these guys probably will do a better job than me to hold in the keys. I don't trust myself. I will definitely lose it. I don't want to feel pain of losing because of my fault. Maybe I will jump from the window, blah, blah, blah. So, but in order to minimize your chances of being hacked, I would say like just 3 tips. Use password manager and like never use the same password anywhere. Don't use your mobile number as a second factor, and always have the second factor with either the Google Owens, this OTP, or some other thing like YubiKey, whatever. So these 3 things, and never, of course, and there is no free money in crypto. Yeah, no free airdrops, no free nothing. Don't do that stuff. Don't sign with your wallets, anything. If you follow these 4 things, your chances to be hacked are minimized.
Thank you, for that.
We did an airdrop. That was free money. I mean, I agree with your points there. The other thing I would add to it is use the VPN as well. I think it's a very simple thing to install a VPN onto your phone, and you enter into these unsecured networks, and that's another way in which people can access your wallets if you didn't log out of them on your phone. It's happened to me before. It sucks when you're in a cafe. It's never fun to see a transaction of money moving out. So, I think my biggest thought or takeaway from this is that security is always going to be an afterthought to people. And we, as people that are security experts in the space, need to make security something that is non-intrusive and non-optional. And if we can solve those 2 things for people and allow them to transact freely, they'll get all the benefits that they get from decentralized types of products. I mean, this is essentially what the TradeFi systems have done for people. They've just put an entity in the middle. And so the question and challenge that we'll all have is how do we maintain the decentralization of this stuff while bringing in that mandatory security audits or security levels that don't require you to opt into it. Like wallet add-ons and things like that, they just simply don't work. Very few people will do it. They'll do it after the fact. So,
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, I agree with Dyma and Jeff. Don't touch public Wi-Fi, and be careful as well. Scanning a bunch of QR codes. I'm sure everyone is like grabbing everyone's Telegram. You can fit like, I think 16 kilobytes of data in a QR code. That's enough for a rootkit, and just drain everyone's wallet. So be careful with that. I think as well, I hope that we see more collaboration. Like Hashlock has some monitoring tools that we're soon to launch as well. And we looked at building these internally, but we also looked at what was currently out there in the market. So we've partnered with Failsafe because we really liked what they were doing in the space. And I think as well, with all the firms here today, like more collaboration, more co-audits, figuring out ways to get security to more projects and platforms. I think also there are still like quite large exchanges that only handle their security internally. And the sort of rule that everyone goes by outside of those large platforms is that you can't check your own homework. And so getting external third-party security looking at that, especially in light of recent events, I think would help make sure that, further events don't actually happen. So yeah, that's where I think it's going.
Very important point, collaboration. If we head on to that direction, it's going to be a great site. So yeah, cheers, Hashlock team. I know you've got a good people on ground here, yeah? Awesome, Preetam. Let's wrap up this session, with your closing thoughts in 2 cents.
Yeah, I think everyone said, I think my, the way I work is, like don't trust anyone. Like, I have seen even the biggest of the founders, because of VC, getting hacked by just getting random, maybe calendar link from Forbes, or, getting some random message on Twitter or Telegram, right? So don't trust anyone, even like your founder is messaging, hey, I need some favor, I need some help, right? So chances are his account got hacked by someone else. I've seen it, right? And then they will send some spammy links. Do I need this? Like, don't trust anyone. And as everyone mentioned, right, like our fight is against, these very smart hackers, and how we can protect, more secure Web3. So we always suggest to go with like 2-3 audit companies as a partners that can help you set monitoring. Don't trust anyone. And always, try to set up insurance. Like, this is the last thing if everything is gone. Yes. That can really, really help you. So this is a complete life cycle we suggest to everyone. Go from, virtual CISO, at the time you're writing the contracts, to, formal verification, audit from 2-3 companies, monitoring, insurance. I think this is the way you can at least minimize the risk. Again, I'm not saying you are 100% pro.
Yeah.
Just minimize the risk as a audit companies we are doing it.
Awesome. I think you've got us to the perfect end. That's what my T-shirt reads. Trust no one. That's a good way to to be safe from security audits. But thank you everyone for listening to us and being on this nice and interesting panel. Thank you once again.
Everyone.